Hello, friends. I'm DJ Lance Rock, and I have to say, Rock and Roll Grad School is awesome!
This is Rock and Roll Grad School with your hosts Heidi Hedquist and Luke Poling. Hey, they're halfway there, living on a prayer.
Hello, kiddies. We are going to have a real good... Am I keeping you up?
No. Had a rough day.
Okay. We are talking with 3 pairs of boots, even though there's only 2 of them. Their new record is called Boot Scootin'. That's also the first single.
Yes.
And it's a fun little record, little country record.
Yes.
And when I say fun little, I feel like that sounds like I'm giving somebody the hi-hat, and it's not. That means I like it.
Right. We all know you by now.
Okay, good.
We can translate you.
Yes, that's coming out next month, so you just put it on your to-be bought once everyone's in school.
Correct.
Yeah, so that's coming up, and then we haven't really spoken about it yet. The whole Aerosmith thing.
But they're not touring?
Right.
Yes, we have.
Have we? I don't think we have.
Do I just dream that we speak constantly?
Yes? I don't know.
I don't
Well, 'cause-
know.
Yeah. It's interesting. I wonder how many other bands are going to have something like this. And there already have been some that kind of just all of a sudden it's like, yeah, we're done. We can't keep going like this.
Well, this is like when you made Santa cry.
Well, it's just, and but it is sad. It is like,
It is sad. It's horribly sad.
you want,
But we felt that, I mean, I guess I thought that there were many times that I thought perhaps Aerosmith wasn't going to be around anymore because
they tried.
they
I
tried.
mean, they tried really hard. But there's something about like the fact that they are a Boston-based band, and I always insist that it is that usually early on in your life, probably at the hospital, they slip a copy of Toys in the Attic, like in your
course.
crib.
With your toys that end up in your attic.
Exactly. That there's something just like, and I think it's the fact that they weren't able to do it on their terms.
I know.
And you look at Jack Russell, right, from Great White, who also just died. Similarly, I guess he was showing signs of, what is it, Lewy body dementia?
You are so.
I'm sorry, but like it's a sad thing, and but then you have folks who are still out there doing it and are able to do it every night. And
Can we talk about, like, let's just go back to talking about Mick.
okay. Oh, here's the thing to bring up with Mick.
Oh no, I don't want to know if it's going to be in the same line. Okay.
It's not bad. It's funny. It's not. So with the passing of Alain Delon, did you see this meme?
I
going
did.
around?
I love that picture. It's like one of my favorite pictures of all time.
Who is that in the
Had
middle?
you seen that picture before?
I probably have.
Oh,
There's another one of Tony Curtis and Madonna, and Mick is sitting. Mick is the third in that relationship as well.
Oh, the best one though is in my Studio 54 book.
Of course.
It's of, but it's not Mick's, not the third though. Mick's actually, is it Bianca?
It must be, right?
I can't remember if it's Bianca, Mick and Bowie, or Jerry, Mick and Bowie.
Either one of those. Can you imagine those conversations?
Right. But it's like Mick and Bowie, and like the lady is
People
left
dressed
out.
in plastic bags.
Mm.
Some kind of fashion.
I'm just a wandering soul.
congratulations on the new record. I listened to it this morning. It's a lot of fun.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
thanks.
What was were you trying to do something different? Since I know this is the second record you've done with sort of a full band sound as opposed to the earlier ones.
The earlier ones were, I think, a little more organic and smaller in size. We still kind of had a full band to a certain extent, but just wasn't like the last two records, which we really started using a couple of really good hired guns. Drummer out of LA, who's has a very good pedigree. He's a great player, and the keyboard player is out of Nashville. And then we used a friend of his, a bass player, to play on a couple of bass tracks. We needed stand-up bass on a couple of songs, and he is out of Nashville, and it's great working with those guys. Fortunately, technology as it is, we have our own studio. We use Pro Tools, and so do they. And so, you just, we'll work on a song till the point where I need to replace my horrible keyboard playing with somebody who actually knows how to play. And, with crappy drum loops that are just sort of the roadmap, and get the real guys in. And so their participation over the last couple of records has really made a nice step up or two for us. Yeah, I think, and just from a songwriting point of view, this record is more split 50-50 between Laura and I. We write separately, right? But we collaborated on one song, which was nice. But for me, from the songwriting perspective, and even from a production perspective on this latest record, especially, from the songwriting perspective to start with, I really wanted to try to get out of my comfort zone on the sort of, I hate to use the word cliches that I rely upon, but just sort of like, the easy go-to things. Like, okay, let's write a song. It's verse, chorus. I'll throw a bridge in. I wanted to get out of that and challenge myself to do something bigger, better. I wanted to get better at songwriting. I just wanted to do some different things. For example, there's one song in there, I think it's the second song in the Running Water, where I really was intrigued by some of the older country tunes, Johnny Cash in particular, who wrote several songs where he didn't have a chorus per se. He used, the last line of each verse as kind of like the tagline. And I love that. I really wanted to write a song like that, and came up with some lyrics that kind of revolved around that, and then just sort of grew from there. So it was that sort of approach. Lyrically, there was another song I was reading, an interesting article on Chris Martin from Coldplay, and his sort of 3 a.m. stream of consciousness way of trying to write lyrics, where he wouldn't start with like, oh, I'm going to write a song about ABC. He would just start writing and just write and write and write and write, and then like look the next day and like, oh, is there anything there? Is there a story? Is there a hook? Is there something? I tried that, and it turned into another song. So that was kind of fun and challenging. Just want to try to get better at it all,
Yeah. And Laura, what about you? Were you ready for Andrew to get better at it all?
He's the crazy mad scientist in the studio who, I come up with a really simplistic tune and say, here, do something with this one. For me, this go around with this bunch of songs, we had just become empty nesters. So our kid was off to college, and I was absolutely heartbroken and trying to deal with that. And this album is my way of dealing with that. And I'm still dealing with that, but I was able to do some therapy in writing these songs.
Plus, for Laura, she seemed to have hit the wall to a certain extent by writing the way she normally did, which was on guitar. So
Mhm.
for her birthday, I bought her a keyboard, and it's sitting right back there.
Oh,
And all of a sudden, a month later, there's 4 or 5 songs. So her approach was, I think, different in writing the latest batch of songs. They were different for her because keyboard obviously is a different, you know,
beast.
whole
Yeah.
different approach.
For sure.
That's so interesting because so often we talk to songwriters and they have their way, right? It's just what they do, it's how they work, it's what's always worked. And when they talk about how they're, expanding their craft and what they're doing something different, but they're not like completely reinventing how they do it. And it sounds like with both of you, you're just like flipping the script 1,000 different ways, and just even to the point of where you said, like, well, we always do our own thing. And you're like, hey, let's just try and do one together, which I know from my own experiences
Would lead to bloodshed.
would lead to bloodshed. And it has. I have tried to led my professional expertise with people I've been in, personal relationships with. It has not gone well at all. So
I don't think it's easy. I don't think it's always easy. It's not always easy for us. And, we've been at this a really long time, and not so much with this project, but there have been other musical projects we've been working this closely together with. And yeah, I mean, we've hit like this, what would you call it? This, the point of no return. We're in the weeds and we're not getting along, and there's a storm going on outside. And
right.
Andy's calling our manager going, we can't get this done. She's being difficult. And I'm on the phone with, him. 10 minutes later, it's him. He's the one. And then the manager is saying, you have to go with this. This is gold. This is great.
Right.
What's
It's great
gonna make it
inspiration.
Get back in the
Right.
studio,
Yes.
get to work.
And
And
he's
then,
right.
well,
So
there was that one particular night where it was storming, and we had some old trees that were on the sidewalk outside our house, and one of them fell down during the storm and blocked the driveway. So neither one of us could leave the house, even if we wanted to, because it's storming and the trees in the way, and it was like, get back in the studio. But I mean, it's interesting that we tried new approaches. Her because she was writing the keyboard, and me just because I was forcing myself to try some different ideas. But there's still some consistency between this record and the previous ones. I just think this one might be, well, I hate to use the word better, but for me as a songwriter, if you ask me like, well, what's your favorite song? It's like, well, it's the one I just wrote.
Of course. Right.
That's my latest. That's the baby right now, and so
Right.
Well, it's interesting you said that, because I feel like, and I enjoyed the last record that we talked about as well. But this one, there was an undefinable spark or energy to it that I think kind of goes to what you were saying, this excitement of pushing yourselves, of going, well, what else can we do with this? How, what else can this car do, kind of thing. I think that comes through in the music, whether or not you intended it to. I think it's inherently kind of woven into these songs and these tracks.
thank you so much.
that was organic, really. We weren't intentionally trying to do anything. We were just sort of writing from our heart, and putting everything we had into it, and I think just getting better at it. And it's interesting that you sort of mentioned that that there's a spark or something there, because I kind of feel that but not until we finished did I realize where this record had taken us.
Mhm.
And even from a production point of view, I was trying to do different things. I really was trying to push Laura out of her comfort zone, to do some more interesting things and better things. There's one song in particular that she wrote, Upon a High Horse, and I was like, oh, there's this great line from a Chris Stapleton song where he just does this beautiful, soulful run, like I hear it right here. Like, you got to try this. She's like, oh, I can never do that. Like that's just not me.
Well, I mean, off the bat, I presented this song and Andrew took it and completely rearranged it. I didn't even recognize it, which is amazing to me because I don't understand how he does that. But yeah, it was completely rearranged. And then vocally, he wanted me to do some things that I'm not used to doing. I don't do runs, that's just not me. And he was pushing. And I thought, I can't do this. And then after a little while, I had done it and I was shocked. And then once you do it once, it's like a bike. Well, then you can do it again. But I wouldn't have thought of that on my own. So sometimes it's great. The collabs are because, it forces you to go someplace you didn't think you could go. And then you realize it's like being in a house and realizing, oh my God, we've got an attic. All this time we had an attic, I didn't even know. And now I can work with that.
Yeah, she's not a type of singer who does a lot of vocal gymnastics.
Right.
And this line was a little bit of that, but
It was a little busier than I would have, done. I'm not a busy vocalist, I like to call it. It's just a style thing. And
well, I really heard it there, and it's
and
like,
he wanted
really,
that.
really got to try it. And I also, we tried some different approaches to, especially to tracking background vocals, trying some more interesting harmonies, and like on that particular song, "Upon a High Horse," it became a much more lush song than I think Laura originally intended, and that was the first song where I was like, because I play bass on most of the records as well as playing all the other stringed instruments. And that particular song was like, oh, this song needs a stand-up bass player. It needs an acoustic bass player. That I want the drummer to play brushes, which is just, and I, of course, cannot play a stand-up acoustic bass. In fact, I'm pretty good with playing most stringed instruments, but they need to have frets.
I was gonna say that fretless thing is always the big stopper for me.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, I heard sort of a fretless kind of thing on a bass track on some song, and I borrowed a friend's electric fretless bass. And after a couple of tries at it, it's like, okay, that's not me. I get the right notes most of the time, but on the fretless, you've got to be spot on, every time. Whereas with the fretted instruments, you've got this much room. You just got to hit somewhere in between there, and it's
a lot less prayer involved with the fretted.
yeah,
certainly.
so
True.
we ended up
Less threading.
Yeah, we ended up using a bass player out of Nashville who we've been talking to for the next record. We may be doing stripped down all acoustic set of songs back in Nashville with him. He's got his own studio. He's a great bass player and also does a lot of production. Anyway, he was just terrific playing stand-up bass. He's, just an incredible player, and which led to the last song that we tracked for the record, which was "My American Boy," which is kind of this fast rocker kind of tune. I played the bass and I was ready to send it off for mixing, and that's when Laura said, Michael, the bass player, he did a great job on those other two songs playing stand-up. Maybe we should try him on the electric. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I've already
More
tracked
pairs of boots. Yeah.
yeah. I've already tracked it. She's like, well, yeah, but So I was like, okay, fine. And I asked him to play on it, and he just played tremendous. So much better than me.
Awesome.
So
And do you, on these, you said with Pro Tools and everyone being able to work remotely, do you, FaceTime or get on Zoom for these sessions, or do you just send these tracks off to the ether and then a couple days later, an amazing, stand-up bass line just appears in your inbox?
I do not give them very much instruction at all.
Mhm.
For the bass or the drums, like there was a bass part there when I sent it to Michael, and I'm using drum loops always to just get a feel of a song. But I tell them, okay, fine, like here's here's the starting point that you can use to jump off from. But I'm telling them, all three of them, just play what you hear, play what you feel. You kind of know where the song's going, and they're all such good musicians that I want them to go way beyond anything I could personally think of, because I'm not a drummer, I'm not a keyboard player. I play bass, but I'm really a guitar player, and so I've been playing long enough to where I have total freedom when I'm playing as a guitar player. As a bass player, I'm good, but I don't have that freedom. I'm more of a stick to the basic, keep the groove. But Michael did that on the bass, and then would just throw in just such beautiful embellishments to it all. So no, I don't really tell them what to do, and especially with the keyboard player, Dave Cohen, who's a veteran Nashville guy as well. When I first approached him, I sent him a couple of songs. The first time I worked with him on the previous record, I sent him charts. And I told him, send me back MIDI files. So I want to choose my plugins to what sound. So he did what I asked. And when he sent me back the files, his tracks, he said, well, I sent you some MIDI stuff, but I tracked the song on my grand piano in my studio, and my B3 and my Wurlitzer and my Fender Rhodes. And I listened to those, like, oh my God, it was so great. So much better than the MIDI thing. Cause I don't know, maybe he's a field player.
Right.
Whatever it was, his playing on his original instruments sounded better. And I talked to him once on the phone after that, and I said, well, did you use my charts? No. I noticed you didn't really, use any of the rudimentary keyboard parts I had suggested. He goes, yeah, I did what you told me, which was play what I feel. And he comes up with so much great stuff. Things, again, that I could never think of because I'm thinking guitar. I'm not able to sort of go beyond and thinking on instruments I don't really know how to play. So it's really fantastic. It's really like being in a band with them. I'm not Prince telling everybody exactly what to play. It's more like these guys are in a band with us, and we went to the rehearsal studio, and everybody threw in their 2 cents worth, and here it is. And that's actually, from a production point of view, I really want to try to achieve that. I want the records to sound like there's a band, a well-oiled machine that rolls into the studio after playing 100 gigs, and that's what the record sounds like. So I actually work really hard at that. Make it sound.
I think that comes through.
Yeah, it
Laura,
does.
with your songs, do you just hand them over to Andrew, or are you sort of giving some notes on, like, well, I hear this, maybe we do something like this here? How surprised are you, and how involved are you in the production when you hear a finished track? Are you just like, oh wow, didn't think we were going to be going this way? Or do you have some guidelines you lay down?
I sometimes I do. I've learned over the years that even when I have a very defined idea, doesn't matter, because if he feels like it's taking him somewhere else in the production, then I just go with it because I trust him so much. And that's a big part of why this works. I have so much trust in Andrew, even when he's producing my vocal lines and all that. Because once I climb into the song, it's like I lose all perspective sometimes, and I can't tell. So I rely on him to help me. He'll say, oh no, that was the one. And I'm thinking, no, that wasn't great. I don't like that one. Trust me, this is the one, so I'm really dependent upon him and his choices. And so with the songs, once in a while, I like with American Boy, I said, no, this I really wanted to rock. I really want a rocker. And so please don't deviate. And and then Reno was another one where the original is slightly different from what Andrew did. And he was working on one treatment board, and then he hit a wall or something, and he said, I'm really struggling with this one. I don't know. I just don't know. I'm going to put it down for a little bit. I'm going to go work on this other track. And then when he came back to it with a fresh perspective, he just had it. He was like, oh no, this is what it's going to do. And again, that surprised me because I hadn't heard it for a time. Because,
Mhm.
with you're writing something, you've heard it 1,000 times, and now you're
Right.
ready to just take a little break.
Yes.
So the next time I heard it, because I was on my break, I was really surprised, like, wow, I really, really love this. I would not have thought of this. So
It's interesting. Sometimes songs that she'll give me, I do, really move the puzzle pieces around to try to get it to get that flow. But then there's other times where she'll just present a song and I'll just go into production, and because it's so spot on, I almost do nothing except embellish the pieces of the puzzle to get in there. But the arrangement and the chord changes and everything are just literally just like she wrote it. So she's, she sometimes things need to be rearranged, like they're not quite finished. Other times they're just sort of spot on. And it's interesting that in the song "My American Boy," it's like, okay, she wanted it to rock. I get it, and I did it that way, but I had to throw a banjo in there, because I like doing things that are a little unexpected. So yeah, it's kind of rocking. It's a little slightly prog rocky at times, but the solo starts with the banjo as the main instrument, and I love that kind of thing. Like, oh, and the challenge of trying to like do a banjo solo, so to speak, or compose solo,
Yeah.
on a tune that's rocking. It's one thing if it's a bluegrass song, but if it's not. Reno was an interesting song because she wrote lyrics and there's music, and I tried the music and it just didn't work. And like she said, I hit the wall. And then I got a different conceptual idea for it, where I really wanted this just sort of nonstop rolling, hypnotic kind of feel, slightly like Bittersweet Symphony by The Verve, where it's just that, it just never stops. And again, it's not a traditional format. There is no separate set of chords where it goes to the chorus. It's just the same chord structure. And so it's a challenge from a production perspective, because you want to identify different parts of the song. And so I was just sort of weaving keyboard parts and guitar parts in and out, and using all the arsenal of guitars in here. Sometimes my friends come into the studio and like, oh, you've got so many guitars. It's like, well, really, I mean, yes, I do have 10 guitars in the studio, but it's not like I have 10 electric guitars.
Right.
Each guitar kind of has its own separate purpose. I mean, you have a resonator, an acoustic 6-string, acoustic 12-string, a baritone guitar, electric 12-string, electric 6-string. Like, they all serve their purpose, and they're different in how they sound. And I just want that. I want that palette. On the second record, I started hearing banjo and mandolin, which I hadn't really played much at all, didn't own them, and went and bought them and said, oh, I should be able to play these. And I've managed to fake it pretty well. There was a song where I was hearing some pedal steel. I thought, well, that's a stringed instrument. And I went on and watched how to play a pedal steel on YouTube. I watched about a minute, and I shut it off, said, okay, I'm going to go hire somebody. Like, I'll never be able to play that instrument.
It's one I keep looking at thinking I could figure out, but yeah, I need to go have my dream shattered by
Something
YouTube.
like that. You're like,
Right.
you get your knees going sideways and pedals and
Yeah.
the string sitting,
you got to start when you're 12 years old with
Mm.
that one.
Get out earlier, yeah. Be
Yeah.
bored knowing how to do it.
So now,
it's easier to learn something when you're younger, whether it's language or whatever.
right.
So,
And it's a just different language.
Passed
Now-
down by generations.
Yeah. Boots Scootin, the new album by Three Pairs of Boots, is available September 27th wherever you get your records. For more information, you can find them online at 3pairsofboots.com. And of course, they are on Facebook at facebook.com/3pairsofboots.
Rock and Roll Grad School is produced by the Professional Production Company. Please be sure to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, because your impassioned review is just as honest as us standing backstage waiting to come back on for the encore. For more information, you can check out our website, rockandrollgradschool.com. And like everyone else, we're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Today's show was recorded and produced by Heidi Hegquist and myself from our world headquarters located on the second floor of the professional office building, centrally located downtown. Our reluctant executive producers are John Sauvé and Sandy Stone. Our willing executive producers are Rachel Allen and Randy Jeanette. Our intern is Zach Jackson. This one's for Philippe. Thanks for joining us. Good night, drive safe. May all your favorite bands stay together.
Well,